Good morning. My name is Bas Strimitz, and I'm the CEO of Hailun USA. And I have the honor and privilege today to be in the store of my friend and his wife, Brigham Larson at Carmel. And this video is kind of to capture Brigham's story. I got to know Brigham about 5 years ago. He was a technician at the PTG meeting, a Piano Technicians Guild meeting. And that's where we first met and became acquainted, befriended each other. And I have watched you, Brigham, on this journey that has been incredible. And I'd like to share that a little bit. And it's a journey that we kind of did together. You became one of our first and probably one of our very successful merchants for Hailun Pianos. And so I'd like to take a couple of moments and just hear that story of yours. How did you get into piano, Brigham? Tell me a little bit. How did you start out getting the piano industry and connect?
I started as a piano technician, like you said. That was about almost 20 years ago. That was in 1995 that I started out just working on people's pianos in their homes. And then a few years later, I had been working on lots of pianos, doing repairs, larger and larger repairs. It got to the point where I was doing larger and larger scale rebuilding. And we started selling pianos out of, I was married in 2000, and starting then we started selling pianos right out of our newlywed condo. And that's how it all really began, but still very much as a technician,
Right.
At that point.
However, from my memory, you were not only a piano technician at that point, but you're already an accomplished pianist, right?
Well,
I mean,
nice of you.
does that go back a little further, or?
Well, it was always a hobby, yeah.
Because you grew up in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, right.
Cultural town.
Of course. But yeah, my profession, and you know what, while I love playing the piano, I would say that every bit I love working on pianos as much as I love playing them.
And so 2000, you kind of started, or you got married, and you said, "Hey, I'm gonna make this," because you majored in history, right?
Yeah. By that time, I had totally fallen in love with the piano industry, specifically working on pianos. I knew that that's what I wanted to do, support my family. I knew that was my career, and so I just wanted a degree in something that I really love, and that's history. So I have a degree in history, but no, by that point I knew that I'd have a career in the piano industry.
And so you married this lady, Carmel,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk about Carmel here in a little bit because she's part of your business, right? Major part of your business. You married
Integral.
Integral part. And you married that lady, and you started bringing pianos home. Other husbands bring other things home. You brought pianos home, right?
Pianos were my mistress, just like Oscar Peterson.
Oscar
right?
Peterson, that's right, said that. That's right. His girlfriend downstairs.
So yeah, this newlywed condo that I mentioned a minute ago, it was very small. It was about 700 square feet, if that. And I was working on pianos. At one point, I had 7 pianos in that little condo. And then we, of course, like any other couple.
Let me just make sure.
Okay.
700 square feet, 7 pianos.
7 pianos. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
How did Carmel? How did she take that?
Great.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a very patient woman, and she understood. Yeah, I never felt anything but support.
And so you went from.
I'm lucky, I realize.
You are. I know Carmel,
very,
and you are a lucky man.
I realize that's very rare.
However, when you were in the house and you had 23 pianos, I think you told me at one point.
Yeah, so
that's where she became a little
right.
A little more conversation.
So of course we had by that time we had a few children. We had a larger house, expanding family, and that house. Yeah, we had 23 pianos, and at that point, that was 4 or 5 years ago. when I first met you. We were selling pianos in much larger, on a much larger scale out of our home and garage.
Much larger scale means,
Mhm.
so there were 23 pianos in the living room, in the hallway, and
Oh,
in the
yeah.
bathroom, right? The bathroom had a piano too?
No.
Is that, you just made that up, or did I, how did, I
I
thought...
think you made that up.
I made, oh, I
But
embellished on that.
no, I
Okay.
mean you're not far off though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 11 of them, something like that, were in the garage, and the
Okay.
rest were distributed throughout. Maybe 4 in the living room, 4 in the
Got it.
family room, a couple in the hallway. We had a bedroom full of them. So yeah,
Okay.
it was.
So at that point, Carmel said probably, hey, look,
It's time.
it's time.
Yeah, I mean I was obviously I was pretty skittish about the overhead. I was very comfortable. I felt like this was a niche. You know, people came and they said that this was really charming, to buy a piano from a piano technician out of the piano technician's home, and to think of taking on, at the time it would increase our overhead about $1,000, something like that. We just found it out of, you know, totally out of the way warehouse. So it was a lot of square footage, but cheap square footage. And even that, I was feeling like, okay, $1,000, you know, that seems like an unnecessary expense when we are perfectly comfortable with 23
pianos,
pianos in our home. And of course, I mean, long story short, our sales only increased, getting a commercial space, warehouse though it was, our sales did increase, and we've made a few jumps since then.
So, if I may interject that part of the history, as I remember, we met, and you first looked at an HU5, an HU1,
It was a
Hailun
one.
HU1, and I remember you put an order in, and at that time, Hailun was not yet very established here in your market, which is Utah. And so we said, well, what the heck, let's send the piano to this technician. I have to say, we love technicians. I mean, that's our main base of customers, of merchants. We felt that was the right way. So you got that piano, and that was still in your house, right? In the
Yeah, that was still in the house.
house, yeah.
That's right. It was so there's an industry buzz,
Right.
as I think there still is an industry buzz about Hailun. And getting great reviews on like Piano World and that sort of thing. And so I was sufficiently impressed by what I was reading, by just kind of the atmosphere, the piano atmosphere. But of course I wanted to try one myself. I did that at a piano technician at the National Convention. I played one. And of course I was still maybe a little bit skeptical, but impressed. Sufficiently impressed that I bought one,
Right.
and that was the 1P, the HE1P. I took that home, tore it completely apart, as far as you can tear it apart, and I looked over everything very thoroughly, because I'm someone that if I believe in something, I can promote it.
Mhm.
I can sell it. If I don't believe in it wholeheartedly, it won't be there.
It doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work for me. I'm not a salesman that can sell anything to anyone. That's
Right.
not how it works for me at all. So that was really my initial in-depth investigation. There was only so much investigation that I could do at the convention. Enough that I was comfortable to buy one, but not enough to really fall in love with it. And what I told my wife a few hours later after the delivery, I mean, it was the first thing I did. As soon as I had it there in the crate, you know, in my living room, I was so excited I tore it completely apart. And a few hours later, after I had it all back together and tuned and regulated, and, you know, I had looked over, investigated everything very thoroughly, I told my wife, who was cooking dinner, you know, in the other room.
Right, yeah. In the keyboard adjustment room, she
Right,
was cooking in
yeah,
the kitchen.
yeah,
right?
exactly, right. I told her, essentially, this is it. These pianos are awesome. And what I said, I was giddy, because I felt like I had, get up early, work hard, and strike oil.
Right.
Is that
That's
J.
right.
Paul Getty or something?
That's right.
Somebody's quote. I felt like I was doing the getting up early. I was working hard, and I felt like I had just struck oil. And so what I told her is I felt at the time, I've changed my thinking now, but what I told her at the time was I can't tell people how good I think these pianos really are because they'll think that I'm exaggerating. I've gotten over that since then. But anyway, that's basically the quote.
So this was around 2009, 2010, if I remember right.
Yeah.
This was kind of the nadir of the financial meltdown in the United States. As far as I remember, we lost about 300 dealerships, piano merchants across the United States. There were about 738. By the end, there were about 320. So during that time, when everything regressed, Brigham Pianos went from 23 pianos in the home
Yeah, that's right.
to today, and I need to make sure that we understand where we are. We are here in Brigham's new piano showroom, which is a 20,000 square foot facility. And you, maybe if you could just take a little thrill around here, it's impressive. This is
That's kind of you.
on the main drag here in one of the most prosperous parts of Utah County. And Brigham has amazing, right?
Thank you.
Now, when I look at your success in the piano industry, and I'd like to focus a little bit more on the nuts and bolts of the industry, what are the ingredients, the elements you think that made that success? And I appreciate the accolades about Hailun because I think that made a big difference. But what are the other elements that you felt you got right?
Okay. Big one is social media.
Social media,
Huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
connecting with that and telling a story.
Yeah.
Why are not more people doing that, you think?
I'm not sure. It's I don't know. It's not the traditional. You know, you think of the 1950s approach to selling televisions or refrigerators or pianos or, you know, and I think a lot of dealers, less so now, but even as little as maybe 4 years ago, I think a lot of dealers, do you disagree? We're still kind of selling in kind of an old school model, or maybe 1980s model.
Well, you know, I'd like to discuss the old school model because I'm not sure that all the viewers understand what old school model means.
What I'm referring to, okay.
In the piano industry. Maybe from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, old school model relied on a situation where the customer came into the piano store, had very little access to information, and essentially was completely dependent on whatever the salesperson told them.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So the salesperson would take, you know, this piano was made in Germany, and when it was not, or you know, whatever story was, all information came from the. And I'm not saying that the salespeople would always give wrong information. There were great salespeople, very ethical ones too. But all the information was channeled through that customer, through the salesman, and the salesman had fairly large amount of discretion of what to share and what not. And is that what you refer as the old school, or you share that's
yeah, that's accurate. Mm-hmm.
And so old school versus new school is, what was the change there?
Well, yeah, with access to information, instant price shopping, instant access to you know, things like Piano World, of course, Larry Fine's publication. People can read all about the industry. There's no shortage of information, you know, that the customer has access to. And so yeah, it's a very different approach.
Do you feel, I mean, the piano industry is so different than cars or other products. I have found that your videos are always very authentic. I mean, you don't just tell marketing stories about let me tell you what impressed me. We're going to launch those videos that you showed us, the factory videos.
Oh, good.
You taking videos at the factory, showing specific things. I feel that authenticity has made a big difference. So when people watch your videos, they feel, no, this guy's telling me really and showing me what it is, not just giving me embellishing or stereotypes. Do you feel that that's part of it, or is it just social media?
That's huge.
Huge.
That's pivotal in sales. In fact, I've had maybe once every couple months or so, I've had people come in. I have people come in that say, I feel like I know you. You don't know me, but I've watched all your videos, which nobody's watched all my videos because I think I'm well over 500 or something videos that I've made. Morning. Come on in. But you know, a lot of people
It's over that way and upstairs.
have seen lots of the videos they've seen. They've started watching, you know, one Hailun video and then another, and they know all about Hailun. And that's actually another thing that I should mention with these videos, is that rather than giving my sales pitch to this customer and then repeating it to this customer and then giving it to this customer, I give it once on a video, and 1,000 people watch it or more, and it is just so effective. And people, so let me finish up what people say when they come in. They say, I know you, you don't know me, I've seen all your videos, just tell me which one to buy. That's happened many times, and it's because of social media, it's because of those videos.
I have a colleague in my at the office, and she refers to instruments that you can have a straightforward story, can share those details. You don't have to remember anything what you said, because it's always the same. And pianos that she refers to as Frankenstein pianos,
Okay.
you know, that are kind of made up, and you make up stories and whatnot, and they have, you know, a name from Germany, but are made this and that, and so you have to. So I think that's a good part. But I would like to also address another part, maybe another two parts. You shared with me yesterday something. People come, they take your know-how, and they bring you gift cards. Right? Tell that story, because I think it's an interesting story to share. About the gift cards, yeah.
These are sales that I've lost besides.
I know you have lost them, but I think they speak a volume about how people feel about you and about themselves when.
So I was telling you that as to express my frustration with. Yeah, well.
Only two sales, but tell the story, please. I think it's valuable for the viewers.
Okay. Okay. Well, in the last couple months, I've been working with some high dollar buyers, and by high dollar, I'm not referring to $100,000, but over $20,000. It's not Steinway League, but I mean, it's a lot of money. And yeah, I worked with them very closely, and we had great rapport. I felt like I took very much an educational approach to the sale, as opposed to the, you know, hard driving sharp approach, and that's what I'm trying to, frankly, what I'm trying to work through in my mind, because I lost both of these sales, and in the mail, you know, when they finally made their decision. One went with a Mason Hamlin Double B, and the other went with another very fine instrument. They felt, I think, an obligation to me. They felt appreciation, and they didn't want to just say, "Sorry, see you later, sucker." You know, so they got a $50 gift card, both of them, to local restaurants, and you know, it's nice of them to, you know, here you go, take your wife out to dinner. I would have preferred to have the sales, but
But I think, and you both are used pianos. You didn't lose them to new pianos. You lost them
the
to
Double B, yeah,
Oh,
was
yeah.
a used piano, and the other one was as well. And what I was selling were the high end Hailun products. The 218 was both of them, and the Vienna.
So let me shift to another part of your personality, of your persona, and of the store's success. I mean, you were at a $2 million facility, you purchased that, you didn't have that money 6 years ago, and another component, I think, was you being a technician. Would you share, would you agree that that was
Totally.
part of your success, or
Totally.
how so?
Well, because people, and the children upstairs, by the way, our family is an integral part of this.
The business, yeah.
So if you're hearing some of that in the video, I apologize for the kids upstairs.
Delightful kids.
Thank you. So yeah, being a technician, I think people very much trust my opinion. I speak both as when I talk to people that are looking at pianos, I speak to both my opinion as a technician of any given piano, as well as my opinion as a musician. And I do have a lot of experience as a technician, almost 20 years, and I mean I'm still out doing a lot of pianos.
On a daily basis,
On a
right?
daily basis, yeah. My wife wants me to stop doing that. I don't really need to be doing that anymore from a financial standpoint, but I want to. I enjoy it. I love working on pianos. And truth be told, there is also an element of business in that. In fact, you and I just delivered a piano this morning.
This morning, yeah.
And that
7 o'clock in the morning,
7
I was dragged out of my bed and for delivery, which I love, by the way. It was great.
that sale was someone that I went to service their piano, and then she asked me about pianos while I was there, and there was no doubt in my mind that they would still have their little clunker spinet that they got when they were newlyweds if she hadn't had me there and asked me my opinion about pianos. And then of course, you know, little by little we got her into a 5'10" beautiful Hailun piano. And I get that all the time. So as a technician, it's also, you know, being in people's homes. Yeah, the combination of being in people's homes, having that FaceTime, having that trust, that relationship of trust established as a knowledgeable authority about piano guts, rather than just a guy that wears a tie and sells pianos.